Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here for WeAreChange.org, and former President Barack Obama has taken to the University of Illinois as a platform to try and garner support for the upcoming midterm elections and throw shade on President Trump. But I've got to say, the majority of what I heard from Barack Obama, although it was spun continuously, I actually agree with. In fact, I don't think he's ever spoke truer words. And we're going to get to all that in just a moment, but I want to remind everybody we are independently funded by you guys. Without you, we don't survive. Reports like this one just are not possible. And we have a small little join button for only $4.99 a month. You get a badge, you get some emojis, we see you in the live chats and the live streams, and we go to your questions first. Plus, it supports We Are Change in ways you can't imagine. So please hit that join button and subscribe to We Are Change. Now, to start off, Barack Obama said freedom of the press should not be a right or left issue. It shouldn't be Republican or Democrat, and I can't agree with that more.
It shouldn't be Democratic or Republican to say that we don't threaten the freedom of the press because they say things or publish stories we don't like.
Now, the way he spins it is that he says, I had plenty of problems with Fox News. I never threatened to shut them down. However, we know that Trump has not threatened to shut them down.
I complained plenty about Fox News. But you never heard me threaten to shut them down or call them enemies of the people.
In fact, he has called the majority of the lying mainstream media, which they have been for decades now. I'm looking at you, CNN. I'm looking at you, MSNBC. And yes, Fox News, I'm looking directly at you as well, even if our president isn't, and called them the enemy. They are the enemy because they are no longer the fourth estate.
We are in a rigged system, and a big part of the rigging are these dishonest people in the media. Big part of it.
I also want to speak to you without the filter of the fake news. The dishonest media, which has published one false story after another, with no sources, even though they pretend they have them, they make them up in many cases. They just don't want to report the truth, and they've been calling us wrong now for 2 years. They don't get it.
And I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake. A few days ago, I called the fake news the enemy of the people, and they are. They are the enemy of the people.
Now, we also have to look at the fact that the mainstream media promoted Barack Obama before he was president, as he was president, into his second term, and still glorifies him to this day. For instance, you can see this cover of the Rolling Stone where he's presented as some kind of a god in the skies. Now, obviously, Trump has not been covered in such a manner. In fact, it is undeniable that the majority of the mainstream media, both in print and in the video news, have been against Trump. In fact, take a look at this cover where Trump is portrayed as an actual clown. Do you remember the media storm that happened when there was just an image floating around of Barack Obama as the Joker? Everybody who was spreading it was obviously racist, even though it had nothing to do with race. Yet, there was a manufactured outrage at that point, and now it's just the norm on how we present our president.
Well, let me conclude tonight on a more serious note. I want to thank the Washington Press Corps. I want to thank Carol for all that you do. You know, the free press is central to our democracy, and nah, I'm just kidding.
Next, Barack Obama says it should not be hard to decry Nazi sympathizers and say that Nazis are bad.
We're supposed to stand up to discrimination. And we're sure as heck supposed to stand up clearly and unequivocally to Nazi sympathizers. How hard can that be, saying that Nazis are bad?
Once again, I absolutely 100% agree. However, when the president was saying that there were good people on both sides in Charlottesville, it's undeniable that many of the people on the quote-unquote right, whether they be members of Proud Boys or other groups, were not racist. The media continues to try to paint groups such as the Patriots Prayer Group, even though their founder is half Japanese, as a white supremacist sympathizer group.
The people who don't know what you're all about and the beliefs that you have, Patriot Prayer, Proud Boys, in a simple way, what is it that you guys are trying to convey, your message? Because I feel like a lot of people on the counter-protester side would say, hey, these guys are racist, these guys don't, accept people for who they are.
I would say, why is it that we have way more color than they have? I'm darker than 90% of those people over there call me racist. It's not about race, it's about what's on the inside. We're here to promote freedom and God, and that is it.
And this has been yet another dishonest tool of the mainstream media, and another reason that Barack Obama had to spin that point. Because yes, we all should be decrying Nazis. However, no, Trump is not promoting them. Now, once again, Barack Obama shocked me when he was talking about the New York Times op-ed piece. He said that that was not a check, as in it was not a check and balance. It wasn't part of our government system, and he is correct.
And by the way, the claim that everything will turn out okay because there are people inside the White House who secretly aren't following the president's orders, that is not a check. I'm being serious here. That's not how our democracy is supposed to work. These people aren't elected. They're not accountable. They're not doing us a service.
After all, everybody that is in Trump's administration is part of the quote-unquote executive branch. Therefore, there is no check. They would have to be in the judicial and legislative. Now, I would argue that some of these people are actually in both the judicial and legislative branch, but this is more of a deep state operation. And the thing is that Barack Obama says, well, you know, they're going along with 90% of Trump's craziness, but that other 10% we're going to stop.
By actively promoting 90% of the crazy stuff that's coming out of this White House, and then saying, don't worry, we're preventing the other 10%.
See, I would flip that almost. I would say that these guys are fighting the majority of the good policies that Trump has actually been able to get passed, and is trying to do like when he was trying to get out of Syria in the Middle East, and aligning themselves more with the establishment, of course. Now, this next comment by Barack Obama was actually shocking to me. He talked about a shadowy group behind the scenes who were powerful, who were actually trying to sow discord amongst Americans to keep them fighting and maintain power. And I could not possibly agree more.
More often it's manufactured by the powerful and the privileged who want to keep us divided and keep us angry and keep us cynical because that helps them maintain the status quo and keep their power and keep their privilege. And you happen to be coming of age during one of those moments. It did not start with Donald Trump. He is a symptom, not the cause.
I know, that was a crazy quote, right? I could still hardly believe that he said that himself, even though he tried to spin it against Trump at the very end. But let me say this, as the crowd awkwardly applauded and didn't know what to do after he said that, you can actually see this young lady saying, "That was crazy. That was crazy." I couldn't agree more. And one of the reasons that I really think that this is crazy is it parallels Edward Bernays, the godfather of public relations and the man who coined the term propaganda when he wrote the book of the same name, saying essentially the same thing as Barack Obama. I want to read a couple of quotes from that book. "Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes are formed, our ideas suggested largely by men we have never heard of. This is a logical result of the way in which our democratic society is organized. Vast numbers of human beings must cooperate in this manner if they are to live together as a smoothly functioning society. It is they who pull the wires, which control the public mind, who harness old social forces and contrive new ways to bind and guide the world." And unfortunately, folks, that is still the truth today. And no, I do not agree that is how society must work. But obviously, it is where we are at, as most people still play in to partisan politics as though it's team sports, as most people still buy into this left-right paradigm when it is they, behind the scenes, that control both parties, that control global initiatives, and that are the true power structure on this planet. As always, if you like this video, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter @JasonBermas. And folks, be the change you want to see in the world.